You have quiet room when we're going live.
Good evening. Welcome to our next board meeting. Let's go ahead and 6.0 reconvene open session, procedural business, 5:30 p.m. 6.1 call to order. The board of trustees are hereby reconvening open session at 5:31 p.m. 6.2 roll call. Trustees to identify themselves by first and last name to formally establish quorum. I would like to note that we have one board member that's absent this evening, Cindy Gardner, trustee area 2. We have one board member calling in, Dr. Leslie Ramson. And with that, I'll go ahead and introduce myself, Gordon Maserati, trustee area 3, Burning Springs, Arrowbear Lake, Green Valley Lake.
Dana Ridland, trustee area 1.
Natalie Lindeman, trustee area 2.
Leslie Brampson, trustee area 1.
With that, we have our quorum with 4 out of the 5 board members present. We'll go ahead and move on to 6.3, Pledge of Allegiance. Bill Bellinger, would you like to lead us?
Stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Closed session report. 7.1 announcement of reportable actions taken during closed session. None. With that, we'll move on to 8.0 public testimony. 8.1 public comment period for items listed on this agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the governing board. The public comment period is administered by state law and is the point in the meeting set aside for members of the public to share their opinions with the board. Open meeting laws do not permit the board to engage in dialogue or answer questions. Though it may not take action on non-agenda issues raised at the public comment period, the board, for example, may refer any matters to the superintendent for review or action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Due to the modified meeting procedures during the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, if a member of the public would like to address the governing board on agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter of their jurisdiction, an email should have been submitted to the executive secretary to the superintendent by noon today. Written comments will be read aloud and subject to the board's usual time limits for public comments. 8.2 public comments. We do have 2 that were submitted this evening. I will go ahead and read them as they are stated. Our first one has a subject matter of a reopening of ROW USD elementary schools. Dear ROW USD school board members, Mrs. Gardner, Mr. Zarati, Dr. Lindeman, Mrs. Ridland, and Dr. Brampson. First, I would like to thank each of you for your work throughout this unprecedented time in preparing our schools for a safe reopening. As a ROW USD teacher, I realize that there are a multitude of variables that must be considered before this process can take place. Although I am unsure of whom it is that decides when our schools will open up, I am aware that a quote definite date, November 30th has been chosen. This group of individuals making the determination evidently feels confident that after reviewing and discussing the information available, all safety procedures are in place and we are ready to open up our classrooms to student and teacher occupation. I am writing this letter to voice my deep concern with the decision to open our elementary schools on November 30th, 2020. And in turn, I'm very interested to hear what data was used on which the decision was based. Secondly, please be assured that every teacher I know wants to be back in the classroom teaching because we know that the classroom environment is where teachers can teach and students can learn with the best possible outcome. We also wholeheartedly agree that being physically at the school site is most beneficial to our students' social, emotional, and academic development. However, taking into consideration the following pertinent variables and considerations, I believe that expecting a successful reopening is not only unrealistic, but it is putting students and RIM staff at an increased and unnecessary risk of contracting and spreading COVID-19. My concerns are based on the following research and information. The United States, including San Bernardino County, is experiencing the highest rates of COVID cases, hospitalizations, and deaths since the pandemic began. According to the San Bernardino County COVID-19 website, the Rim of the World District continues to be in the purple tier, which indicates widespread risk with daily new COVID-19 cases of 7 or more. Although our waiver allows us to reopen without regard to tier level ratings, it does not waive the increased probability of a student or staff member contracting COVID-19 due to the level of quote widespread or even quote substantial risk tier under which ROW USD is run. There is a lengthy link. It is the San Bernardino County Public Health Department maps.arcgis.com website that I will not read the full URL, but it is that is an attachment there. And I'll move on to the second part. Transmission pathways and how to mitigate the spread of the deadly virus are still being debated and studied. Our country is deeply divided as to how this pandemic is to be controlled. The effects of this division have been nothing less than catastrophic to our nation. It has been determined that children do carry and transmit the virus. Wearing masks to mitigate the spread is not accepted by all. Can we ensure that these children wear them? Please refer to the Harvard Medical Study dated August 2020, quote, silent spreaders. From there is a link to a harvard.edu study, it looks like. COVID and flu season is upon us. According to Dean Blummer, Chief of Pediatric Infectious Diseases at UC Davis Children's Hospital, quote, we're entering uncharted territory. We have not been through anything like this. There is so much we don't know, end quote. Why would stakeholders in our reopening be willing to take this risk? Please refer to the UC Davis Health Newsroom article dated September 14, 2020, quote, COVID-19 and flu season are about to merge and doctors are worried, end quote. From there is a link to ucdavis.edu. Many families are just returning from holiday celebrations with a multitude of people. Opening up on November 30th will most assuredly bring COVID-19 to our schools because many of our district's families will have traveled to and celebrated with family and friends during the Thanksgiving break with little or no knowledge of where any celebrants have been with or with whom they've been in contact with over the past 2 weeks. Compounding the situation is the fact that we are also now moving into cold and flu season. John Achenbach, reporter of health and science for the Washington Post, states, quote, the government's top doctors have said they believe the recent national spike in infections has largely been driven by household transmission. Super spreader events have gotten a lot of attention, but it's the prosaic meals with family and friends that are driving up caseloads, end quote. Please refer to his October 25th, 2020 article, quote, as holidays near, the coronavirus is spreading rapidly, putting families in a quandary about celebrations and travel, end quote. There's a link to WashingtonPost.com. With the necessary safety procedures being as stringent and necessary as they are, the majority of our time will be taken up by monitoring where students are and what they are doing at all times. Teachers have spent countless hours developing successful distance learning platforms for our students. I can only speak for my schedule, but I know many of my colleagues have the same. Where we present math lessons, language art, PE, and science/social studies on a daily basis. I provide art on Fridays and full office hours on Wednesdays. Students may request to meet with me after any Zoom meet they so choose. Opening up now for a very limited time before the rest of our winter holidays simply is not logical. It is going to disrupt all student learning as well as reinforcements teachers have developed to support student learning. Not only will learning be minimal, so will student interaction. Teachers will be more focused on ensuring students are keeping 6 feet away from one another, are wearing their masks appropriately, are washing their hands after eating and or using the bathroom, are using only their school supplies and materials and not sharing with others, and are avoiding close interactions with other students at recess and during sanctioned breaks. These are only a few of our teachers' concerns. As we are all concerned about our students' social, mental, physical, and emotional health. But are you prepared to deal with the implications for teachers, contract, and classified employees? In closing, I propose that we follow the guidance of research and science and continue with distance learning because it is currently the safest way to protect all involved in the education process. Students are learning and they have opportunities throughout the day to interact with one another. I have 5 students log on 5 minutes early so they can talk to one another, and breakout rooms work quite well for student interaction. I suggest a return date of no earlier than January 19th, 2021, as this date would allow for a 2-week post-holiday quarantine period for all before returning to school. This quarantine period, as well as a new reopening date, could be presented in a letter from the district to RIM families stating that because of the ever-increasing cases of COVID-19 over the past several weeks, and because the safety of our students has always been at the forefront of all of our decisions, we have decided to push back the reopening date until conditions are more favorable and we have more information as to where this pandemic is heading. Thank you for your consideration. Respectfully, Terry Overmeyer, grade 4-5 combo, Charles Hoffman Elementary. We did have a second board comment that was submitted, and again, I will read that one verbatim. This is from Joseph Dorado. To the school board and district management team, I would like to start by thanking you for allowing our season 1 athletic teams to begin their preseason workouts. Our football program has just completed 10 weeks of preseason workouts with 0 COVID-19 outbreaks. We've had just over 60 student athletes participate in our practices, following the process. As a high school football coach of 20 years, I can say that I've never worked with a group of young athletes more eager and committed to being at practice. The next step looming over our head is when we will be allowed to start our in-season practice in anticipation of our first competition. Will we all wait for the State Department of Health in collaboration with CIF State and CIFSS to release its guidelines for a return to play? The coaches at Rim of the World High School are requesting that the school board, with the support of the district management and site administration, consider looking at the risk on a local level when considering a return to play. The coaches will be submitting proposed guidelines for a return to play based on the County of San Bernardino's reports on our local community, not countywide numbers. When CIFSS publishes its revised schedule for the first season of athletic competition, we want our athletes to be as prepared as any other school in the section to safely and competitively compete. The coaches of Rim of the World High School competing in CIF sanctioned events support a return to campus. We hope that once you've received our updated proposal, that you will approve it or work with us to revise it to meet whatever standards you require from us to return. Many of you have lived in our mountain community for many years. You know that we are a unique community in the County of San Bernardino. Please spend the time to consider our local numbers and not just the county colored here. I'm looking forward to being back on campus with students this school year. I hope that the state and county will provide more reasonable guidelines that address our diverse and expansive region. The mental and emotional health of our student population is hinging on the decisions you make regarding our return. Distance learning has not been a success. Our students are failing and our teachers are becoming more disconnected from the students' needs. Our student athletes are losing hope that they will be able to have any type of season. We need to get back in the classroom, on the field, and in the gym. Our children's well-being depends on it. Best regards, Joe Dorado, SAI Mod Severe, head football coach, head track and field coach, Rim of the World HS. I believe those are the only 2 public comments submitted to us this evening. And with that, we will move on to 8.3, RTA and CSEA representatives. Do we have any speakers at this time for RTA? Mark Bagg.
Thank you. Good evening. What a year it's been. I want to start, I guess, to thank new board member-elect, Mr. Bill Bellinger, for stepping up to the plate. Yeah, a good group to work with here, so they'll train you well. A couple myth busters. A lot of people think that the teachers have, Teachers Association has control of reopening date, and we don't. In fact, I thought it could be bargained at first and realized that it can't be. It's really up to the school board and management. So I wanted to make that clear. I also want to make clear that, there's things on social media that just aren't true. And from what I'm seeing out there, certificated staff is working harder than ever. And when I see posts online and things of such that teachers are working 3 hours a day, it's simply not true. I think you know that, but I wanted to put it in the record. I also appreciate that we're relaying the facts to our constituents through scientific data to make the best, most appropriate decisions possible. And it's difficult because we all have different situations and everyone out there has different situations. So I want to thank Mrs. Murphy and the board for reconsidering the original date, which was November 2nd to reopen K-5, which we knew we could do that. And it was changed to the 30th of November. And now we've changed it we changed it to mid-January, which I think is appropriate under the conditions that we're at right now, with the area in purple, the county in purple. New York City schools, the largest district in the nation, reclosed. And I think we all agreed last year that that would be the worst thing to do, to reopen and then close again for everybody involved. So I know we all have, COVID madness, or we're tired of staying at home and not interacting with people and living our normal lives. The fact that we're being told now we shouldn't really be with our family at Thanksgiving, it's whoa. So it's very difficult. And all of us have to kind of make our own decisions regarding those situations. So again, thank you for reconsidering the reopening dates. I'm really hopeful. Oh, am I done?
Oh, no, that was me accidentally hitting my
Oh,
chair.
okay. Thought it was my gavel. I'm hopeful that for a complete reopening by spring break. So maybe I'm being too hopeful, but I'd like to see a complete reopening by spring break. I went to the COVID testing at the district today, and that was really appreciated. I think there were about 100 people there being tested, and there's no other place to get tested on the mountain. So if you keep that up, I think people would appreciate that. And finally, I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, and stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Yeah, I just bumped my chair. With that, do we have any speakers at this time for CSEA? We do not. No speakers at this time. Okay, we'll move on to 9.0, governing board members' reports and announcements. 9.1, governing board members. I would just like to say, out of respect, that we're going to be giving Leslie, Dr. Branson, a bulk of our time this evening so that she can say what she needs. So, Dr. Branson, if you'd like to start us off.
You're on mute.
Okay, good evening, team. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This evening is my last board meeting for RIM. 12 years ago, I embarked on a journey as a school board member. The road has presented many curves that I didn't anticipate. Too little money to accomplish the goals we all have. A virus that has changed the way we all work and live, and unexpected roadblocks. But during this time, I have worked with experienced and exceptional individuals, too many people to name, and certainly I would accidentally omit someone special if I enumerated. Along the way, we have had a strong anchor keeping us grounded. God in heaven and his son Jesus have been my constant mainstay. I thank you all for your dedication and teamwork. We have the hearts, the minds of our children in our hands. Happy Thanksgiving, and again, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Branson. With that, we'll move on to Dr. Lindy.
So my report is very brief. I just wanted to repeat my thanks for everyone collaboratively working together to try to provide our students the best education they can receive during this time, and all of us being flexible in what our opening dates will look like and what school will look like when we return. And I'm a parent at home with 5 kids right now doing distance learning, and there are extreme challenges that we're facing with that. It is not what I want to be doing, and I hope that we can get back safely as soon as possible, but protecting our community is what we all feel is most important. And so I just appreciate everybody's patience and willingness to come together to help us determine what that looks like. I too wish everyone a happy and healthy and safe Thanksgiving and break with their families, or those families that they can't, family members that they can see. And thank you, Leslie, for all your years of service for our district.
Thank you.
I also wanted to repeat Natalie's wishes of thanks to you, Leslie. I have a long list of various thank yous, but first on my list is Leslie, thank you for your service to the school district.
Thank you.
How you reached out to me as a new school board member and has been helpful along the way. I have no doubt that your heart is here with RIM, that you care and you continually strive to do what you believe is best. You've had courage along the way, the courage of your convictions to do and speak up for those things that you feel very strongly about in order to be able to benefit our students. And I applaud you for your efforts, and I appreciate the effort that you have put in. So thank you.
Thank you.
Other things that I'm thankful for is how the relationships that have developed over the past couple of years between RIM staff and administration have really been helpful over these past several months. I want to repeat what Mark had said, like Mr. Barrett said, in terms of the efforts of the teachers. In some cases, maybe they're being unrecognized, but I'm hearing time and time again, especially from the students, how they know their teachers care. And I know that it's kind of it's like banging your head on the wall to try and teach through the computers and being able to, when you want to be able to reach out and touch your students, you know that they're hurting. We adults are hurting, and I think that hurt is being magnified on the student level, like we don't even understand yet. And I have no doubt that every single one of our staff members is putting up a Herculean effort to do what they can with the many obstacles that are coming their way. So while I understand your frustration, please do know that I'm hearing time and time again appreciation and affection for the efforts that are being made. And again, on my list of thank yous includes all of our staff who is going above and beyond what the contract requires to do just amazing work. I'm also thankful for the news of the last week of a couple of vaccines that seem to be on the threshold of being put into circulation. My understanding, and it may be hopeful, my understanding from the news yesterday that as many as 40 million vaccine dosages should be available to frontline workers. That I understand would also include teachers by the end of this calendar year. If that in fact happens, hopefully our negotiations in terms of establishing when school starts will be much more optimistic than they have been in recent weeks. So hopefully that ends up becoming just a reality changer for us and gets us back on the road to some level of normalcy. I continue to be concerned about student health. Though with my interactions with community members, I do know that there is a shared concern about mental health on the mountain. And through individual outreach, I believe that certain situations are being mitigated. And I urge anybody who is listening to continue to make that effort to be able to make sure our community members are able to be as healthy and know that they're cared for, and to make that effort as much as possible. And I sure hope that we can reopen by spring break, hopefully with vaccines. We can open sooner. I'm lightly optimistic maybe, but I think as we continue to work together and can make sure we keep safety paramount, but also be mindful of mental health and best practices, hopefully we have a more optimistic 2021. And one last thing I do want to mention is what Mr. Bears, I wrote it down and said, is all of us have to make our own decisions. I appreciate and thankful for how the district has moved forward with various plans, recognizing personal choice as being part of the equation. Because we do all have to make our own decisions and we're not all the same. And we have different comfort levels and different skills and interests and capabilities. And I appreciate how the school district continues to take that into consideration. So I think I've said enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll move on to my board report. And yes, just to echo the sentiments that Dr. Bramson, it's been a pleasure to work with you for the past couple of years and get to know you. You have inarguably much more experience in the world than I do, and I've learned a lot from you. You are quite possibly the most empathetic person that I've ever met. And that's something that, in my life and in how I approach things, I tend to think mostly logically. And I think you've brought and illuminated a side of decision-making that I may have ignored to a large degree up until this point in my life. It cannot be underestimated, the power of empathy. So I thank you for showing me that. And absolutely, we wish you the best. You're here on the mountain. I know you're on the other side of the rim for me, but always happy to stay in touch and in these COVID times virtually. So thank you. And I would also just, like to echo the other sentiments from our other board members that we're thankful for everybody working together and working collaboratively during these very difficult times. I would like to say that never on my short tenure on this board have I received so many positive forms of feedback. It's been nice. Typically, when you're in an elected position, if you don't hear anything, you've made the right decision. If you hear complaints, and a lot of complaints, it likely was the wrong decision. But rarely ever do you get compliments or niceties. So that is reassuring from the board's perspective. I would hope that we're heading in an accurate and good direction. So I would like to just point that out, that I've received as well tons of compliments and praises of our teachers. I've heard from 2 families in the past week that have reached out to me to tell me that their experience with distance learning has been a benefit to their students, their children. And I know that's certainly not the case for all, but it's nice to hear the positive stories that, that there are some students out there that aren't doing just as well, but doing better. And it's not because of anything the student is doing in particular, it's because of the efforts being put forth by our teachers. So that's been nice to hear, and that's been nice to see. I'm wishing everybody a very happy, healthy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you all in just another short month virtually. With that, I would also like to say too, if there's anything that we've missed or anything that you think that us school board members should consider, any ideas that you have, we are still available. We are still your school board members. We are still accessible to you, the public. If you want to meet out at McKay Park in Lake Arrowhead, or out at Firehouse Park in Running Springs, and social distance and say whatever's on your mind about the school district, I'm happy to still meet in person, outdoors and social distance with our masks, and we can still be accessible to you. It doesn't have to be a phone call. It doesn't have to be, we're still here and available to you. So with that, we'll move on to 9.2, our superintendent's report. Michelle Murphy.
Good evening. I'm going to start off with this two updates from the state of California, and then I'm going to move on to giving thanks this evening, as the rest of you have done. So the state has announced today an update to a stay-at-home order for a curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. starting, I believe, on Saturday through Christmas. So reminding those of you that are traveling of those orders, as well as CIF was supposed to make announcements this week regarding sports and tiers. They have postponed their announcements because of the data. So they will be, we are anticipating an announcement about sports and being able to answer our coaches about colors and tiers and sports, hopefully in the next week or two, but for now they have postponed their announcements. So we were told that both of those things at a state superintendent meeting today. In the theme of thank yous, I would like to, first of all, thank Leslie Bramson for her service to our district for 12 years. I can't believe we've been together for 4 years, that I've been in RIM for 4 years. It's been quite a journey, and I'm happy to serve. But thank you for your service to the district and all that you've done to support me in my time here as a superintendent. She has a beautiful plaque that I gave her, so we had to drop it off, and there it is, so you could see what it looks like. Thank you for sharing, Leslie. So again, thank you for your service. I'd like to thank our food services department who received this plaque to RIM of the World. They have served 17,000 pounds of food to our families since March 13th. So they received this plaque and a letter, and we'll put that up at the district office. But I thought that was a really cool thing to put it in terms of pounds instead of meals served. I'd like to thank our business department, who's done a lot of helping us with the COVID testing today. As Mr. Bear referenced, there were over 100 tests given. That company has provided an MOU with the district. They will be here the third week of every month during this time to provide testing. The date will be announced each month because they're going to base it off of snow. We have a very difficult time trying to find someone to come up to the mountain, and worked with several companies, but this company was finally able to work with us and come up. So it was great to see employees and community members getting tested. We have to guarantee a minimum of 65 people when they do come. And so we obviously exceeded that number, opening it up to employees first and then to the community to fill the rest of the spots. So thank you for those that came, and thank you to that company. Let's see. I wanted to also thank our business service department for all their work in procuring the items we need for reopening, even though we have postponed reopening. Some staggering statistics might be that we've secured 30,000 masks, 600 gallons of hand sanitizer, 240 air purifiers, over 4,000 safety stickers, banners, and signs, 4,300 sneeze guards, 13,000 pairs of gloves, 180 fans, and over 100 touchless thermometers and temperature checking stations. I'd like to thank Mr. Beal for all of his work on the employee COVID handbook and helping with all the one-pagers and the press releases during this time and working with our negotiating team. Thank you to our teachers who are working hard every day to support our students and to teach in a way that has been unheard of in our history. In my 32 years of education, we've never had anything like this. And I hope it doesn't ever come back once it goes away. So thank you to our teachers. Thank you to our classified staff who are on campus supporting our instruction and campus beautification projects. Everyone's been working very hard in the best that we can during this really crazy time. I'd like to thank those people that have submitted WeTip things for our graffiti reward for the high school. We have yet to point to a conviction, but keep those coming in. I'd like to thank our drama and leadership departments at the high school, had a very successful drive-through haunted house following COVID guidelines. Our coaches are working very hard and writing plans for what we can do now, which is conditioning for our students and giving them that connection to school. Thank you everyone for all that you're doing to support our families. I hope that you have a wonderful holiday with your family in the best way that you can during these crazy times. And as I said in my email to the staff today, remember to give thanks and eat pie.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, let's move on to 9.3, our student representative report. Anthony Armanelli from Room of the World High School. Armelene, I'm sorry.
No problem, you're fine. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm just going to be giving you guys your typical updates on all our schools this month, November 19th, 2020. All right. Oh, you can go to the first slide. This is for LAE November board update. Classified staff continues to beautify our campus. We have completed the painting of the library wing hallway, computer lab, the cafeteria office, and the entrance wall, and subdued LAE Spirits colors. Certified staff participated in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People Professionals development on October 15th. Based on the work of Stephen Covey and the Foundations of the Leader in Me, our first energies go to our own character development. If you want to make minor changes in your life, work on your behavior. But if you want to make significant quantum breakthroughs, work on your pentagrams. 6th annual support for our troops. LAE is collecting items through November 16th to December 11th to help our local Blue Star moms create and send care packages to our RIM high school grade servings, the military, and local veterans organizations. LAE has a box under the banner during business hours if you would like to contribute. Thank you in advance. All right, excuse me, I'm moving my camera. This is for CHE. CHE is prepared for a return to campus with hybrid handybooks for staff and family, classroom reconfiguration, safety protocols, and child-friendly, fun hand-painted murals on the front bulletin board as safety reminders. The entire office wing of front counters, doors, and windows have been stored up and repainted thanks to the bus drivers and noon duties. The first trimester utilizing standards-based report cards was a success and will better inform teachers and parents. At this time of year, Hoffman is grateful for your service. BOE. Things are continuing to roll around here at BOE. The teachers are continuing to Zoom here, Zoom there, and Zoom everywhere to deliver great lessons for our Hawks. I've enjoyed the addition of even more art projects and hands-on drawing activities. We've added another new friend to our hallways, put up some artwork from our first graders, and students got to participate in our Red Ribbon Week activities. The activities included a rock hunt around Lake Gregory. Special thanks to Ms. Burkett and our PTA for leading the way on to providing the prizes. Our awesome cafeteria staff, with the help of our classified and certified staff, handed out 445 meal bags on the 18th. Wow. The attendance awards program is up and running. Thanks, Kathy. The awards are in the mail. First trimester report cards are finished and will be soon headed home. On a lighter note, we all took some time to do a little fishing to help us reset emotionally and decide that sometimes our pets have some great ideas. Kick back, relax, and just enjoy life for a while. Happy Thanksgiving from Bruce Hamilton, our principal at BOE. MPH November board update. UDL, Universal Design for Learning Professional Development, has continued monthly. We have continued work with removing barriers to accessing the curriculum through increased engagement, multiple and diverse institutional strategies. Paper online tutoring, 24/7 online tutoring is now available for all students at MPH Students District Google sign-in. Check out the MPH website for more information. Link is below. EL updates, working on reclassification for the EL students through our district monitoring processes, potentially by second semester. Stay tuned for how many will successfully transition soon. Tech coaches. We have 2 tech coaches, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Lowen, who have taken the reins with supporting technology efforts, including online platforms, optional PD, and an MPH technology Google Classroom for staff. Smart boards. Installed in 26 classrooms, staff are excited for this new technology. Avid updates, see the Avid slides, which is our next slide. MPH Avid, the 7 habits of highly effective teens, a true gift for the teenage soul. All MPH Avid classes are engaged in this book. Avid data has been turned into the Avid Center, 8th grade Samuel Project, movie interview, and elderly person have a meaningful conversation, share and learn about one another. 7th grade continued the use of virtual job shadow. And college wear Fridays. Yeah, this is the news article for their adoptive parent. I'll just read the headline. Students in Miss Moreno's 6th grade Avid class at Mary Putnam Heck in the Medium School collaborated with Rim Family Services on a community project. The project, put together by Kaylee Wunia of Rim Family Services, was called Adopt a Grandparent. The students created projects that will be given to senior citizens across the mountain community. Wunia shared she was blown away and truly touched by the heartfelt projects these students came up with. Ms. Moreno and her 6th grade Avid students truly embody PBIS, not just for their schools, but also the community. MPH has been working on preparations for reopening when possible, including all health and safety preparations, traffic patterns, installation rooms, etc. PBIS recognition, every day counts. Achieve Tomorrow recognized over 200 MPH students who have positive attendance, positive behavior, and positive academics. MPH beautification continues with painting the front door area. Great job, MPH custodians and security staff. Next up, continued work on the cafeteria walls. SSC is tomorrow, Friday, November 20th at 8:00 a.m. ELAC is Wednesday, November 18th, which is already passed, 2020, 6:00 p.m. Paper Parent Night is 11/17/2020. Online tutoring information night. Video on the school website for those who were not able to attend. Link is below. MPH, RHS, and MHS Secondary School, San Bernardino County Sheriff Department Parent Night. Presentation on trends among the youth, especially in the increasingly digital world with public affairs Representative Mr. Clark Morrow. Fly to come via Parent Square. Eagle highlights for November 20th for MHS. Intake meeting and parent-teacher meetings between the principal, student, parent, and counselor happening for the first time in 5 years. 3rd grade period. This is the 3rd week of the 3rd to 6th week grading period, and students are working to make credits. Professional learning community. Staff is meeting weekly to discuss struggling students and how to best support them during distance learning. Monthly newsletter. New this year, going to parents and students using SMR software. School site council, meeting and planning once a month with parents and students. Facilities upgrade, new slurry coat on campus, painting in the office, and COVID funds. PBIS, face shields, ergonomic rising desks, headphones, and 5 hands, shields, and mask holders. Home choice program. We have 4-time home choice teachers serving over 102 students with 10 spots currently open. Mountain Sunrise Rotary made 24 desks for our home choice students. Report cards were just finished last Friday for all HC students, and plans are in the works for launching a home choice virtual academy for K-12 students to have their own site. All right, just update. Smart boards. Teachers are excited about the smart boards that have been installed in all classrooms. Training will take place on December 3rd. Front offices have been painted and decorated with RHS memorabilia. Work is in progress. Weight room is painted. 100 wing staircase is redone. Entryway bulletin boards installed. Stairs, the scoreboard, flagpole built, and there is more to come. All right, just a general update. School site safety. Extra PPEs have been purchased for classroom water bottles for all students have been ordered. Weekly spotlights have been returned and can be found in the RHS weekly newsletter as well as on the website. DNF, counselors and admin meetings with students with DNFs at quarter. And family counselor engagement, weekly RHS newsletters are being published. Coffee with the principal is happening 2 times a month. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony.
Okay. Go ahead and jump into 10.0, reports and presentations. 10.1, finance facilities, budget and enrollment. Jim Potter, Chief Business Official.
How are you this evening? Thank you very much. I have a very short presentation tonight because I'm saving the long one for next month when we're working on this first interim report. But I just have a quick enrollment update for you. We're not tracking attendance in the traditional way for the money side of attendance, which is what in our attendance rate. So we normally would work on our Strive for 95 campaign, look at what our attendance rate is, and equate that into dollars. Because of the hold harmless that the governor has issued for our attendance, we're not reporting that number to the county or to the state this year because our attendance for funding this year is our attendance for funding last year. We are on the compliance side, though, looking at attendance, and that's really nothing we can run one report for. And then, so this is our attendance for month 1. It just doesn't work that way this year with the governor's order. What we're tracking is we are tracking daily participation in Zooms, but we're also tracking daily work completed. So if a student didn't do a Zoom but did all the work, that's still an attendance date for us. And we also have to track engagement. So sometimes how do you do that? Because you can be a teacher in a classroom, that's what, we kind of get frustrated at. You can be going to school every day pre-COVID, and is a student necessarily engaged or not? So just that's another rule. And then we also have to account for a time value of attendance based on work assigned. So some of these, it's all new, and the regulations came out after the date of compliance that was supposed to start. So it's always nice to have something, regulations a month and a half after the date you're supposed to be in compliance with them. And the fact that we don't even have the audit guide yet, and our auditors don't expect it till January. So we're asking, are we doing it okay? And they're going, we think so, but we don't have the guidebook on what we're going to audit you for. So we're going to do some self-audits, probably starting maybe a little bit in December, and then January, the best of what we can, so we can test the handbook that Todd and Derek put together on what does engagement look like, what kind of proof do we need from a teacher standpoint, because we never had to have a lesson plan be approved for an audit guide before. So that's going to be all new. So we'll just, do the best we can. And we are hoping that once audit season comes to fruition here, that maybe even the state has decided to give some leniency to districts because of, what they'll find. So we'll just see. We know the rules change every day, it seems like sometimes. So we'll be patient and flexible. And that was our mantra from the beginning, I think. But just our official month 3 enrollment is 2,929. We did grow a little bit from the previous month. We did have some new enrollees, and that is a net figure. So we are, we're happy for that. It is scary to see enrollment below 3,000. We would have never thought 5 years ago, Ren we would be in the 2s. Even though it's just under 3, it does sound like a very scary number to be in that 2,000 arena right now. So anyway, we're working on enrollment, and we're just going to have to see after COVID, if this is our new base, if families come back, if they were temporary out of California, what happens with the Inland Empire. There's just a lot of economic and enrollment data that where it's going to be hard. I don't think we're following any trend right now. So we'll just react and plan as best as we can. Okay, and so I talked a little bit about the guidelines, and then we talked about our unduplicated count percentage and some concerns we had with a very low percentage and what that could mean dollar-wise. 88 was held harmless, but the unduplicated count that calculates how much supplemental concentration grant, that was not held harmless. And because we're feeding everyone for free without having to fill out a free or reduced lunch application, there wasn't that incentive for families to fill out the form. But filling out the form and documenting that income is how we get the documentation needed for our supplemental concentration grants. So we have been on a campaign for the last maybe month and a half, and we even have a raffle going for folks who fill out the income survey by November 30th. We're giving away $50, $25 gift cards. We've made that announcements. And Lisa Rhodes, our new food service supervisor, she's been at each school for the last 3 Wednesdays, asking parents to sign up and have the forms available. About a month ago, we put an application in every food bag. Just in one day, we did get 14 applications, just with her being there. That doesn't count people who may be doing it online or filling it in. So we're not allowed to, because so many districts are doing this, we're not allowed to ask for the free or reduced lunch application or the income survey for meals or for the purposes of LCFF, but we can it doesn't mean we can't accept them. We just, we're actually promoting the income survey more than the meal app. But the meal app might be more appropriate for parents who maybe want that discount in utilities or a lower price internet. And we did talk to the state saying, we're not asking for the meals, the form to be filled out for us. We're asking for the benefit for the families, and that's totally acceptable. So that was good. We got certification today that our number went from 48%, which would have been about a $600,000 ding to RIM schools just in 1 year. We're back up to 57% right now. So, and we were aiming for 60 or 62% prior to COVID. And Lisa talked to me today. She goes, I'm still going to try to get there, because just being at 57 versus 58, which we're budgeted, that could be $10,000, $20,000, but that's a little bit easier to react to than 600,000. So I think our big push has really helped. I know even Mark had a piece of that, and he's helping. And so it's just, it was kind of an all hands on deck when that 48% was known, and we almost panicked and fell out of our chairs. But I'm really happy that that wasn't something very heavy on our hearts and our minds. And so so at this point, I'm feeling like we're good, and we'll only get better at that 57%. So that's a little bit of good news. I think we can always use some, and the age where we're feeling like we have a lot of bad news, the little silver linings that we can find.
I have a question from that first sheet. I've probably been there a long, I haven't seen it, but for last school year, not having the data for the last 3 months, will that be something that we will continue to not have?
Well, really, we could just extend it because our last official count was that last month 8. So for the graph purposes, I can just make my mind 10 and 11 the same number, but enrollment wasn't officially taken for the last 3 months of last year. But it would just continue to the straight line. Yeah, but we can do that to make the graph look a little bit.
I just, it was most things in terms of when it comes time to compare those months.
You would just extend the last official count in February before the shutdown.
So if we really saw month 11 to month 1, then was 160 student drop, 150 student drop.
Put your mic in front of you, Steve.
Oh,
Because
okay.
we got to hear on.
All right, sorry about that. Okay.
And I just wanted, real quick, to just kind of give you an idea when we're asking for that, or when we're talking about the unduplicated pupil count. We have talked in the past how we feel it's really an unfair, it puts REM in an unfair advantage because our demographics. And we may have some of the same issues a school down the hill may have, but at an 80% unduplicated count versus a 56% or 58%, the numbers are just, you could, like we said before, a school, your neighboring school could get about 2,000 per student, increase over what we're getting. And just as an example, I just did like one quick calculation that if we went from 58% and if we got to 62%, the supplemental concentration grant just for on the grades TK through 3 would be about $130,000 just on that grade span. And so you think that it really, we could be looking at a 4. I did the whole. Where did my sticky go? And looking at the whole average, if we went from a 58%, because every grade is funded a little differently, to 62%, that would be $147 per ADA on average increase in funding to the school district, which would be, about just over $400,000. So, I mean, that getting that percentage up, increase a little bit can really benefit our district. So when we're asking principal, site staff, teachers, classified parents to complete an income survey or help us with the applications next year, I mean, it's not all about the money, but the higher we're funded, the more services we can do to our staff and our kids. So that was a little bit of good news. I think last time or the time before I talked to you, I had some really concerning news about that. So we've been working hard to get that number pushed up. And I think some of our efforts have definitely been worth it.
Definitely been a relief, thank you.
That's it.
Okay. Well, thank you again. And with that, we'll move on to 10.2, Student Learning and Achievement, MHS data. Heather Dominguez, Director of Educational Services, and David Nygren, MHS Principal.
Mike's off, Dave.
If that's not a true test of the times, I'm used to starting the meeting myself, so I usually don't have to unmute myself. But good evening, distinguished school board, Superintendent Murphy, and DO Cabinet. This is our update for Mountain High School. We are home of the Eagles, and I thought I would start out with sharing with you what we do. We're doing intake meetings, as you'd heard mentioned on the slide. And so this is the first 4 or 5 slides are what I go over with the intake meeting. So we are Mountain High School, home of the Eagles, and that's our awesome logo. And do I have control of the slides? Okay, he's going to do it for me. Thanks, Mark. Because we're a small school, we have a maximum of 50 students, and we're approaching that. I think we have 49 today, and then we can have up to 5 on full-time independent study, and we do have those 5 additional. But since we're a small school, we have a small staff. So we have a security person, a secretary, we have 3 teachers, 2 counselors, and a teacher on assignment. And they all work together, small but mighty team, to help the students at Mountain. I tell the parents that they can reach us at this number or first name, last name. And I also send them this presentation after we meet so they have it for reference. And the next slide is, I tell them that there's a couple components to be successful at Mountain. Number 1 is attendance. So it's required in order to succeed. You have to attend mandatorily till you're 18. For our distance learning, we're doing 4 Zoom meetings a day. Each period counts as an absence, and they call or email if they're going to be out for an absence or if there's an outage. We are going to be doing SART and SARB meetings if attendance is an issue. A lot of times people call us to ask about a technology issue, and we're able to walk them through it. We do have counseling services available through RIM Family Services and Mountain Family Counseling as well. And those are Zoom meetings, and so we offer that as well. Absences must be cleared within 5 days, and tardies are counted. And you can see our schedule there. First period's 9 to 9:20, and this is a synchronous portion. Then there's an asynchronous portion after that. Period 2 is at 10 o'clock for 20 minutes. Period 3 is at 11 o'clock for 20 minutes, and period 4 is 12:30 for 20 minutes. So between each class period, they work on assignments that are tailored on OdysseyWare and StudySync by the teachers. And the next slide is, if you're intending, Mountain High School is a continuation school, so we're making up credits in order to graduate. So you do have to do the work. As we finished in March, our students had to continue because they had one more grading period. So they continued working through their classes then. And so we have 6 6-week grading periods, and you can earn 15 to 20 units each grading period, which you can earn 90 plus credits in a year as opposed to typically 60 at RIM High School. Again, we use OdysseyWare and StudySync for the assignments that are in the Google Classroom. So each student has linked to Google as well. We're doing raffles and reward prizes, kind of 6-week incentives to draw for the students, and we're keeping track of those, and we're going to do them right before Christmas and do some drawings. The diploma is earned after 200 credits, and that recently changed from 210 in June, which gives the students, a couple classes less that they have to complete. We do have the 2 counselors that are on staff, and they're the ones doing the intake meetings with me. And they also, when they have the meeting, we go over this presentation. I usually do this presentation with them, and then the counselor will go over their graduation status, what they still have to achieve. And they also show them how they can meet with Calendly at any time with their counselor. As a continuation school, we want to make it so students can come over as a junior, catch up on their credits, and come back their senior year, or even catch up mid-senior year and come return back to that. And we have a good number of seniors and juniors now, and it's not been that way for a couple of years. It's been mostly seniors, so we haven't been able to do that. Next slide. The third part, if you're attending and you're doing your academics, is your engagement. Are you involved? Are you motivated, doing your behavior? We haven't had many behavior problems, very few, some plagiarism with the material because it's online. You can, cut and paste some stuff, few minor things, but it's been pretty good behavior so far. So we're doing the school communication, so I make sure the parents know, to look for the newsletter weekly and monthly. Their motivation's key to completing credits. They have to have a growth mindset that I might not understand this today, but I'm going to get it tomorrow. And we work hard to develop that with the students. We do have PBIS rewards and work permits for the students if they're in good standing. And we have a small class size, a family atmosphere. Our classes are 15 to 20 at the most. Some classes 10 or less. So small class size, individual attention. They get to know their teachers well. We do the Choices program with Rotary, and they fund many of our activities. And they are going to do that virtually in the spring. We've already planned it out if we are not back in school. When we're on campus, we do have an art club. We want to do some murals on campus. We have a community member that wants to start a garden. And so in the intake meetings, we've been asking about art, gardening, and remote controlled cars. So we do have things for them to be involved in. And so that's basically the presentation that I give to the parents. And then the counselor will go over the grad status, which is individual to the student, look over their Odysseyware, kind of develop a career goal if they have one, or at least start thinking about it. And so we can help them get into military, trade school, or just get straight into a career. Next slide. So data's interesting right now. We did not have the testing data from last spring, and so I didn't want to go back, a couple years. So basically what we've been looking at is the grading periods and breaking it up into the 6-week cycles. So the first grading period was August 12th to September 18th. We had 120 classes because we had 30 students, 4 classes each on campus. They also have Odysseyware classes in addition, but we had a 76% pass rate the first grading period. We do give grades at Mountain, so those are the numbers that had A, B's, or C's. If they don't have 70% or greater, it's a no credit. So we had a lot of no credit, 29 classes, no credit, and there were 30 students enrolled at that time. And it was their first time in distance learning, so they were just getting the hang of what was going on. The second grading period is traditionally they don't do as well for some reason, but we did get more students. We got 11 more students the second grading period. The number of higher grades, the A's went down. The pass rate also did go down, but again, we had a lot of new students, so they're trying to figure it out and what's going on. So those are our first 2 grading cycles, and we're meeting with a consultant and kind of breaking up 6-week grading cycles into what are we going to do the first week to address those students that are, not doing well? What are we going to do the second week, third week, and kind of having a cyclical way to address that. So that's our grade data, DF data, ABC data. Next slide. Kelvin Pulse, we've done twice. The first one was I believe it was the end of September, and the one that we just had was last week. So if you look at the graph on the left, the parents, that's Pulse 1 is in blue, and the Pulse 2. So we had 76% favorable for the first Pulse from parents, and 100%, even though it's only 4 parents, I put the number down there, it's only 4 of our parents out of 50. And for the students, we had 8 students participate in this most recent one. And we had the first time the students were favorable about 75%. Now they're at 83%. So we're happy that both of those are going up. So we feel like they are getting comfortable with the process and feeling good about what they're doing, even though it is a struggle. And, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a struggle for most students, and, they're having a tough time with the digital component. So I've heard that at the traditional high school and all over. So looking at our attendance rates, it's by first period on the bottom. We've got about a 58% attendance for first period. We had to do this, tally it by hand, but we were able to find this data because, as Mrs. Haverland said, we're not doing the traditional attendance data. So second period is better. It's about 60%. Third period is slightly better. And fourth period, we got to look at, it's our lowest attendance period at about a 51%. We do have a lunch break between third and fourth period. So maybe they're getting the full, getting into a food coma, falling into a nap, but we got to find ways to address that. So we're coming up with ideas right now, generating with the staff for the fourth grading period, which will be in January, on how to mix up the schedule, offer a tutorial, different things of that nature, interventions for the students. Next slide. Observations and actions from our data. We have been doing the intake meetings, which has been great to get face-to-face on the screen, at least with the parent, student, admin, and counselor. And I explained that process, how we're doing that. We are meeting weekly as a professional learning community as a staff with Mr. Wallace, who's helping us as well. We have a grid of students that we're looking at, about 20 students that we are targeting, trying to bring them up to the next level. The weekly communication goes home, which has been good, and we plan on launching a social media presence next semester, taking a survey of the students about what type of social media they'd like to see from Mountain High School. And we are working with the consultant for National Institute on Excellence in Teaching to plan for the 6-week cycle. Next slide. We did have our WASC virtual visitation in August. We had been in school for a week, and we had a person from Sacramento come down and evaluate. A lot of strengths that they shared with us, a common vision, the life skills, career. Anyways, there's a number of strengths that I'm not going to read each one, but I did send the report to the district, and I'm sure the board has seen it too. I want to focus on the growth areas because that's kind of what we have to address. And so I'm going to go to the next slide for that. The growth areas for continuous improvement, she agreed with our identified areas of growth, which was identified by the staff writing the report together last winter. And so we were supposed to have our WASC visit the week that school shut down in March. So they rearranged it to do it virtually in August. The first area is the leadership and teachers should continue growing in equitable access to rigor. So we've got new history and math book adoptions. The new history books are here. We just have to catalog them and get them to the students, but we probably wait till we return to campus. And because we're doing all OdysseyWare and StudySync right now online. And then math is adopting with RIM this year, and we've been giving letter grades as well, so the students know when they're doing really well instead of just credit, no credit. The leadership and teachers should continue with growth with college and career readiness. That's kind of, we're in the targeted assistance program due to our dashboard indicator on college and career readiness. So we just are in the process of purchasing Find Your Grind, which is a motivational leadership program that is run by Jostens. It's an 8-week program that gets students interested in finding what they're going to do, finding their grind, what they want to do after high school. We've been using virtual job shadow to get the students interested in different careers and find out about different careers. When we've been on campus for the last 2 years, we've been doing a job fair and ROP classes for students that are in good standing. The leadership and teachers should continue with collecting, reviewing, and taking action on data as it relates to assessments, curriculum, and instruction, and the implications of that data. So again, we're working on that 6-week grading cycle and a targeted student grid for those students. So just keep you in the loop on our WASC recommendations. And the next slide, our home choice program. Just wanted to mention a little bit about it. I know there was a slide on that, but we started the program with 3 teachers in August, Mrs. Lewis, Mrs. Olson, and Mrs. Smith. And they started from the ground up. Basically, we'd gotten some information from some other school programs. We looked at it, adopted to what we wanted to do. And then we were able to add another teacher because we had a wait list of about 60 students. So we added Mrs. Brainy last month. And so we have 4 teachers right now that are currently serving 102 students as of today. But I wrote this a couple days ago, so 100 students, and now we have 10 spots. We did visit a homeschool program in Hesperia in early October and learned a lot from them. And thank you to Superintendent Murphy for setting that up. Our teachers have been receiving professional development from our elementary TOSA, Claire, and that was great on our professional development day. And we hope that continues on our next professional development day. Our Mountain Sunrise Rotary made the 24 desks. I should have included a picture because the students have, a couple of them have painted them and customized them, but that was a great project, and the students were excited to get those and customize it to their liking. The good news about home choices, 95% of our families are continuing with the program. We lost very little at the semester. They had the option at the semester to return to distance learning, and they did know at that time that we would be returning to school, that we were planning on it November 30th. So that many stayed, which kind of gives me a indicator of success that they're happy with the program. And I'm going to do a survey right before Christmas break to kind of get some more data on that, some more specific data. And several of our families have formed pods and are meeting with groups of students daily. 6 or 7 students usually meet at a house, and the parents take turns teaching the lessons. And we've got real positive feedback on that as well. So the home choice teachers too, I just got an email from one tonight that just thinks it's the best assignment that she's had. And so we're just very happy with that program. Hope it continues to be a viable option for families on the mountain that want to teach their own children and have the assistance of a teacher and have that bond. So thank you for allowing me to update you on Mountain High School and the home choice program. And I think my next slide is any questions, maybe? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Nice to hear. Mountain High School updates. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and move on to 10.3, RHS data. Heather Domingos, Director of Educational Services, and Troy Burke, RHS Principal.
Hello. Can I take this on, please? Behind it. Thanks for having me tonight. I was told 5 to 10 slides and there's 27, so I'm going to go through them fast. So
It's a big high school.
The theme of this presentation is really putting the puzzle pieces together. So our WASC recommendations that we got 2 years ago, our SIPSA goals, which are strategically aligned with the district priorities, and then our focuses for this upcoming distance learning year. So I have the button. What we'll cover is RIM Pride, our new student learning outcomes, what we're currently working on, our SIPSA goal overview, 2020, 2021 focuses, and distance learning updates. RIM Pride, one of the WASC recommendations 2 years ago was to come up with school-wide student learning outcomes, formerly known as ESLERs. And we worked collaboratively with all stakeholders and the staff to come up with RIM Pride. And what RIM Pride stands for is positive, ready, involved, determined, and excellent. All of these categories and outcomes are measurable, and we have a list of the data that we're going to use to measure each of these outcomes. And this poster literally got finalized yesterday, and Rob Wilson is printing it for all of the classrooms in campus bulletin boards around the hallways. So RIM Pride, that was one of our WASC recommendations. But we are working on putting the puzzle pieces together. We have 4 goals, SIPSA goals. Our first goal is to increase student learning and to support professional development. Our second goal is college and career readiness. Our third goal is to facilitate safe and positive school climate. And our last goal is to engage family and the community. And the little bullet down there says they're strategically aligned with the district priorities, except for goal 2, because that's college and career readiness as from high school. The first goal, I'm going to break it down into some major areas of the goal, as well as WASC recommendations that fit within this goal. So WASC critical area 1 was to build a culture of CFAs and to have common formative assessments and use the data from the common formative assessments to serve the needs of all students. And to address that this year, we're developing department assessment calendars, which is kind of a scaffolded first step to create pacing guides. And to do that, we're using, the staff have been trained on Illuminate DNA, which is a system in which students can take assessments and collect all of their assessment data in one spot. And so we're hoping to see Illuminate DNA assessments be put on those assessment calendars for the departments. The second WASC critical area that we're focusing on is to effectively use PLC time. And the PLC questions that we're really focusing on this year is the first and second questions. What do we want our students to know, and how do we know when they've learned it? And that directly correlates to the department assessment calendars that we are developing, because the assessment calendars have 2 columns 3 columns. The first column is 6-week chunks, because we know that that's an inquiry cycle about 6 weeks. The second column is what standards are we going to teach in that 6-week chunk. And then the last column is what assessment are we going to give to address the standards. So it really is that first and second question. What do we want our students to know, and how are we going to determine if they've learned it? The next critical area that fits into this CIPSA goal is to implement current research-based instruction and increase technology. And how we are addressing that this year is we've got a lot. We've adopted 2 standard aligned textbooks. So the entire English department is now working off My Perspectives, which is a standards aligned textbook. And it also has an online component called Savvis. So it's very relevant and useful in our distant learning world. We've had a plethora of professional development on Google Suites, HyperDocs, and Choice Boards. Thank you, Heather, for setting that up for our teachers for the PD Day. Like I said, online curriculum. Our biology, we have 12 biology sections this year, which is a huge number of biology sections. And they are piloting a standards aligned textbook, and they're actually really enjoying it. It also has an online component through Savvis. And our math department is starting to use a program called Desmos, which is an online standards aligned interactive, really cool system. You guys should go and watch Miss Ortega's, formerly Ortega, now Miss Williams, her class. She uses it all the time, and it's phenomenal. We also introduced, as MPH had in their their student board update paper. I looked this morning and we had 38 students. We launched it last Thursday, and we have 38 students that have used that system just this week. So, and it broke it down by topics. Most are math, some are English, and then we have a handful of chemistry students asking for help on the paper service.
I've heard a lot of good feedback on paper already.
Nothing but positive. People, when I push it on Parent Square, there's a ton of appreciation. Parents can like it. There's a lot of appreciation on it. I put it out on both the social media, Instagram and Facebook, and there's been nothing but absolutely positive feedback. One of our students, school site council, he's a senior. He said that he submitted his college personal essays for review, because they do essay reviews. And he said he got a lot of really good feedback. And he said his personal statement for his college essays are much more strong. So I was like, that's creative. So very resourceful. Every Thursday I send out a bite-sized professional development to the staff, which is a 10 to 15 little, it could be a video, an article, a tool, and they are all research-based and timely. So last week, what did I send out? I sent out a video on social emotional learning, I believe, because that's very timely with our students with the mental health crisis going on right now, which I'll talk about in a few slides. Thursday mornings, we have professional development, and one crucial piece of staff feedback that I received was we really need to focus our professional development on the most important things right now to get really good at a few things rather than okay at a lot of things. And so after looking at data, the site administrative team, there's 6 of us, we decided on English language learners being one of our site focuses for professional development for the next year. And then we put out a survey to the staff, and that closed just a few days ago, and they chose social emotional learning for the next year of professional development. So we'll be focusing on strategies for English language learners, as well as social emotional learning, which I'm really excited for. I'm skipping ahead. That last bullet is for focusing on EL supports. Some data, that's the last piece of the puzzle, is putting the data together to drive our decisions. CASP, normally I'd be presenting CASP data from last year, but we did not get the CASP last year. So some components of CASP moving forward. Artosa, Steve Wallace is working with both the math and the English departments really closely, as well as the administrative team, to help them develop those assessment calendars, to help teach teachers and guide them through those online assessments. And so he's been really working closely with both departments, and they enjoy having him. Our baseline data is the 2018-2019 data, and math, nearly 16%, 15.98 students met or exceeded standards, and then in English language, 57.43 of all students met or exceeded standards. So that's our baseline moving forward. This upcoming year, we have it scheduled for April 19th through the 30th. Math goes first, English language is second. Some things that we're doing to prepare for that is we are using online standards aligned assessments that mirror the CAST already. So MDTP is an amazing math resource that have phenomenal online assessments, and they are all standards aligned. A little plug for my mom, she writes for MDTP, so it's great to have her as a resource. Our English and science teachers are using Savvis because their textbooks are published through the Savvis system. Thanks, Mark, for helping with getting all of those students logged in. And embedded are assessments that are standards aligned. They mirror both the English language CAST as well as the CAST, the California State Test, the NGSS standards. And then we are starting to use Illuminate DNA, and we've been having training thanks to Steve Wallace on that. And last but not least, we have those, like I said, those textbooks that are now standards aligned. We've gotten 2 in the last year. And then we also are working on those assessment calendars. Those assessment calendars, like I said, they say what standards they're going to teach and what assessments they're going to use to assess them. And I've given them the task of completing them by the end of this school year so that we're ready to jump in and follow the assessment calendar next school year, because it's just not applicable or attainable, or it would just be too much to follow an assessment calendar this year with everything going on. Something, a lot of data, so I'm going to try to speed through it. We have AP data, and this is just participation data. There's 2 columns. Some of you guys have color copies. Some of you guys have black and white copies. I'm sorry. But this compares our AP, participation student groups to our entire RIM high school student groups. So for example, the first bracket, the Hispanic student population, we have 37% of our entire population at RIM high school is Hispanic, yet only 25% of the AP population is Hispanic. Compared to our white student population, we can see that 90% of our AP students are white versus the 50% of the entire population. So just looking at this data and comparing the whole student population versus our AP honors population and seeing what kind of barriers we can break down. After looking at this data last year and talking with the counselors and the AP teachers, one of the barriers that we realized was the AP students had to take assessments to get into AP classes as well as apply. And we truly believe that any student that wants to take an AP class and challenge themselves should. They shouldn't be told no. So we got rid of this application process and the tests to get into AP classes. Now that did make it so that we went from, like, for example, 1 AP government class to 2 sections because we had so many students, but it also reduced one of the regular government classes. So staffing wise, it didn't make a huge impact. We saw a growth in students scoring 3 or higher on the AP tests this past year. That could be due to a bunch of things. One thing that the AP test or College Board did was they shortened the test and what was covered on the test. But we're happy to see that it went from 40%, somewhere in the 40s, those numbers are really small, I don't have my glasses on, to 59%. So we did see a large increase last year and hoping to see an increase again this year.
So this is by student, not by tests?
Total students.
Okay, so it's 50. Okay, so not, so if one student takes 5 tests, they're just being counted once?
No, it's per test. So 59% of our tests had a 3 or better. And I have the all of the classes and broken down by like exactly the percentage for each score. I can give you that. I didn't want to include it in here because it was like 12 pages.
Yeah, that was cool.
Next is our EL reclassification, and this is one of the reasons why we decided to focus on English language learners for professional development over the next few years. The last 3 years, we've had 2%, 2.5, and then last year we reclassified 4 students for a 4.3 reclassification rate, which is a growth. So we're moving in the right direction. We have an English language learner team, and we are putting our heads together to figure out how we can help improve these numbers. And I think having one of the 2 professional development focuses for staff-wide, not just the English language learner team, is a great, huge step in the right direction. Our second goal for our CIPSA is college and career readiness. The 2 main focuses here are college and career awareness. And we're tackling that a few different ways. PTSA and AVID have joined forces to hire Julie Scorzel, who is a college admissions coach. And during the fall semester, she comes in 6 times and works with our seniors on college application help. And next semester, she'll be helping juniors. We have FAFSA workshops. We have college articulation. So Cal State, UCR, Cal Baptist, Point Loma, and a few others have come and done Zooms for our students to talk about their colleges and the admissions. We have Scotts University, which is put on by our College and Career Center and PTSA. We have a robust ROP program ran by Ms. Phillips. Ms. Phillips has also worked really hard on securing San Bernardino Valley College concurrent enrollment, which I'll talk about data in a minute. And then Cindy Gardner and the Kathy Horton have worked really hard at making sure that our college and career part of the website is always updated and very informative. Graduation rates is the other part of college and career readiness that we want to focus on. Last year we had 5 non-grads and we had 191 seniors in total. So I did a quick calculation. It's not pushed out on the dashboard or CDE at all yet, but for my calculations, it came out to 97.4%. Versus last 2019, the class of 2019, we had 9 non-grads out of the class of 202, which equaled 95. So we saw an increase. Initiative that started last year that the counselors are improving this year is seeing every student every year. And how they're doing that is they are meeting with freshmen in their classes and going over their transcripts after the first semester. They have a 10th grade planning meeting that parents are invited to. They do an 11th grade check-in, and then they also do a senior exit meeting. And then this year, because of the high D&F rates that we are seeing, and it's not just a RIM high school problem, it's a national problem, counselors and administration, we have put a list together of all of the students that received D's or F's at the quarter, and we're meeting with each and every single one of them. We're calling home, we're reaching out, we're making that contact. We did see a drop in A through G completion rate last year. The year before it was at 41%, and now it's at 26%, which was shocking and a little sad. But if we, a few things that I can attribute to this is one, COVID, which is an unfortunate excuse. But at March 13th, if a senior had a D, they could stop. They didn't get any worse, but they didn't have to do any work, and they could still pass their classes, and D's don't count towards A through G completion. And so we usually see seniors hustle at the end of the year, and we might not have seen that this year because of COVID. Also, the College Promise, which was the community colleges, they promised free 2 years of free tuition, and the counselors pushed that hard. Not saying that was a bad program. It's not promised this year. It was discontinued due to the pandemic, but they really pushed that hard, and a lot of our students chose to go that route, which is an incredible route. Free tuition is amazing. I would have taken it if I was a senior as well, but they don't need to do A through G to go to a community college. So that could also be a reason to that drop. ROP data, this isn't last year's data, it's the year before. We're still waiting on last year's data, but we had a 93% completion rate. 100% of our students that participated in ROP graduated, and 96 of them have been placed. And placed means they are in school, they're employed, or they're in the military. And the breakdown is below. So 72% of our ROP students went to school, 83 are employed, and 5% are in the military. Thank you, Stephanie, for helping with that. And then San Bernardino Valley College concurrent enrollment. These numbers are small, but they are growing, and we have faith. Last fall, we had 2 kids. And the process, the reason why we believe is the process was very clear and not muddy, and the kids didn't have much guidance. And since it's gotten so much better, we really have worked, Stephanie really has worked with San Bernardino to make sure that the process is easy for students. So we saw an increase by 1 student in the spring. This current semester, we have 6 students. And then next spring, we already have 7 applications in. So the 7 is a tentative number. Students can still apply. And we actually have Super Saturday, this upcoming Saturday, for students to learn about concurrent enrollment and work with counselors on that Saturday to get enrolled.
Is that Saturday also available to our non-RIM students?
Yes.
Any community members? Okay.
So we're hoping to see that 7 grow in the next week or so. Our next goal for our SIPSA is to facilitate safe and positive school climate. And one of the WASP critical areas that was given 2 years ago that aligns with this goal is to just decrease the suspension and the DNF rate through positive interventions and positive programs. And so what we've done to address this is the administration team and the counseling team at the beginning of this year got restorative practice training. And we liked it so much that we brought it to the whole staff, and the whole staff had a restorative practice training from RIM Family Services. And we haven't seen many discipline problems this year, but the discipline problems that we have seen, instead of just administration taking care of it, it's administration and counseling taking care of it in collaboration and meeting with the family and going through the restorative practice problems. And we've seen success with it. So we haven't seen those kids be repeat offenders. We have the high school culture and climate team, which focus on the PBIS program. Last year, we created an on-campus intervention program. So this was another means of correction before suspension. So for example, if a student was caught vaping on campus with nicotine, instead of suspending them right away, the first offense was an on-campus intervention. And during that time, they worked on schoolwork. So they had a certificated staff to supervise them. And they also were assigned a module based on their violation to approach it through an SEL, social emotional learning approach. We used a program called Edgenuity, and the students didn't love it. The certificated staff that was in the room didn't love it. I didn't love it. It was not engaging. And so Karina Serrato, our new counselor, she was our health teacher last year. She's passionate about social emotional learning. So she found a program called Ripple Effect, and it's incredibly student engaging. Our students, we have a few students using it already, and it's kind of cartoon. And I know high schoolers, like, you think that they're not into cartoons, but like they're into it. So it's much more engaging and interactive. The other one was just videos, and then they had to take a multiple choice question or a multiple choice test. So this one, we're hoping to see higher success with it. The next WASC critical area that fits into this goal is to ensure that our facilities are maintained and safe for students. And they provide them with a positive learning environment. So how we're addressing this is I've been working closely with the custodial staff here at RIM High School to create cleaning schedules and check-ins. And so we just finalized them today. There was a few drafts that went back and forth and we collaborated on them, but we finally have cleaning schedules for each of the runs. We have 6 runs, custodian runs, and there's daily checklists for those. I've been doing daily site walkthroughs to check on the cleanliness of campus. So it's scheduled on my calendar every day to walk around campus. I have bi-weekly meetings. So every other week I meet with the custodians individually. Our bathrooms were remodeled, which was a part of the student complaint 2 years ago when WASC visited. And then we have a plethora of school beautification going on. I'll go over a list in a bit. Our second focus, social emotional learning, fits into this goal, this SIPSA goal. We've introduced the new program called Ripple Effect, and we're excited to see that take off. Kelvin data, we've been monitoring our Kelvin Pulse data. Like Mr. Nyman said, our second Pulse just closed actually on Tuesday, and so we have data based on that. We're responding to data on that. And something really cool at the high school level, students can request to be contacted by their counselor. And so anytime a student asks to be reached out to the counselor gets an email saying, so-and-so has asked for you to reach out to them. And our counselors are staying on top of that and reaching out to those students that have requested communication. We have the resource Care Solace, which I have some data on. And actually Care Solace, the teachers don't necessarily make referrals to Care Solace. But I'm having a Care Solace representative come out next month and talk to our staff for about 15 minutes on the program so that they know the workings and the ins and outs of the program so that they can best utilize it and make sure that those referrals get passed on to the counselors. Staff professional development, like I said, it's going to be one of our focuses this year. And then last but not, well, no, there's one more. Attendance, last year we did attendance incentives. And then this year, it was a request from last year, and it was a goal of mine that it just didn't get done. And I made a promise to a parent that I would make it happen. And so we're doing it. We're doing this school site safety committee, and we're going to be meeting once a month to go over our comprehensive school site safety plan, but also just other safety things that parents are worried about. And it's going to have all stakeholders. We'll have teachers, classified administrators, parents, students on that committee, and we have 4 meetings scheduled this year. Suspension data, we don't have suspension data from the dashboard for the last year. We did see a decrease in the last 3 years of dashboard data that we have, but something that I think is interesting, because discipline isn't my passion, but helping students at Promise students is my passion. And so I love all students equally, but my favorite students are the kids that I would have to talk to in my office. Those are my favorites. So something interesting that I thought is when I was sending out the weekly newsletters last year before we closed, or the weekly recaps, I compared suspension data from that time that year to the data that time the year previously. So the last update that I sent was on March 13th when we closed. And at that time, we had 58 suspensions, and 38 students were suspended. That time the year previously, we had 70 suspensions and 58 students. And so that data shows me that OCI was working, and we did, hopefully, our suspension rate goes down. And student Kelvin data, I have both of this pulse summaries up there. Unfortunately, we saw a decrease by a few points in each of the dimensions: relationships, climates for learning, and instructional environment, which just speaks volumes about the need for social emotional learning right now with our students. And similarly, staff, we saw a decrease with staff as well. It could relate to what Mr. Nygren was saying. He sees a decrease in his second grading, 6-week grading period. I think we're feeling that slump, the educational slump of November. We need a break. And so I'm hoping that that's the cause for the decrease. But social emotional learning will be a great step forward. School beautification, we've had all halls painted, the rotunda was painted, cafeteria speed line, the senior square, the main office, the waiting room, they've all been painted. The stairs by the flag, or there's new stairs going up to the flagpole by the scoreboard. It was very dangerous to hang a flag up there because it was very slippery in the fog, so now there's stairs there. The trophy cases have been cleaned and painted. The 100 staircase outside the main office is being redone because it needed some help. And years and years ago, the welding students created bulletin boards, and they sat in the welding shop, and they are finally hung. And we are waiting to decorate. We're waiting to get them finalized and painted so that we can start hanging all of the good stuff on those boards. Attendance rate, we saw a tiny decrease last year versus 2018-19. 90, those numbers are really small. We saw about 1% decrease in both semesters. And then there's also from the CDE, there's chronic absenteeism numbers for you guys to look at when you need to go to bed at night. Student participation, something our largest student group or largest participation on campus is our athletics. We have 347 students, which is 36.5% of our students participating in athletics, and it's also broken down by gender. And last goal is our student is our family engagement and our community engagement, and how we're tackling that. A few things that I put in my 90-day plan as a principal have been put into place, and I found, and I think the families and the communities have found success with, is weekly newsletters. So every Friday evening, I send out a weekly newsletter. I post it on Facebook. There's an email blast that goes out, and people can subscribe to that newsletter, and it just has updates that's happened. And so that's a huge communication piece that I've gotten really good feedback from. That goes out every Friday. Regular social media posts. We started an Instagram, and we have nearly 1,000 followers. I reintroduced a few years ago, we did a student weekly spotlight. Last week was the first week that we brought that back. And so every Friday with the weekly newsletter, a student will be highlighted. Diverse students, not the students from all walks of Rim High School. Our website is updated regularly and it's very comprehensive. Coffee with the Principal happens twice a month, one in the evening and one in the morning to help address student or parent schedules and accommodate that. We have schools like
How's your attendance on that?
sometimes we have, like, one of the times we had 12 parents, and today I had it this morning and we had 1 parent.
More successful than town with trustees.
I've never had 12.
Yeah, it was at the beginning of the school year when people were like very just concerned and what's going on, and I don't know what asynchronous means. And so we had our highest participation, the first coffee with the principal of the school year. And since it's gone, it's trickled down, but this morning we had one, and it was a good conversation and talking about student mental health, so.
Media committee may need to collaborate promoting town with trustees.
I just put it on Parent Square. School site safety committee has been formed as of today. I got an email from the parent that was very, very concerned last year, and I promised her last year, and so it was about something else, and she reminded me, oh yeah, I promised her. So I got that sent out and scheduled the 4 meetings scheduled for this year. PTSA has high participation. Our ELAC meetings are regularly scheduled. And so these are how we are reaching our families and the community. And then family parents also are able to take the Kelvin survey, and we similarly saw a few point decrease in each of the dimensions. Some parent participation data, how many parents participate in each of our programs. And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about this year in the distance learning. We have a few focuses here at Rim High School this year. One is those assessment calendars, those standard aligned assessment calendars, which is for our goal 1. The second is making sure that our professional development is data-driven, timely, and purposeful. Our graduation rate, we're really concerned about our graduation rate this year. So our counselors are working extra hard to make contact with the seniors that are in danger of not passing. School site safety, making sure that our campus is safe for students when they return. Student well-being, we have a mental health crisis on our hands, and it should be talked about. And I'm really worried about it. And then school beautification. Distance learning, a little bit of this is second to last slide, a tiny bit of data from this current year. We've had 545 verified period absences. And what that means is communication has been made. It's typically Amy Gross, our attendance secretary. She calls people that have missed periods and she's made contact with home. And those absences are due to some kind of technical difficulty. So it doesn't count against the student. It doesn't mean that they were absent. It means it was verified. But we've seen 545 of those this year as of Tuesday when I pulled the data. I think this is the most impactful bullet point, number 2 of the entire PowerPoint. I've ruminated over it and it weighs really heavy on me and I get emotional thinking about it. 132 of our students have multiple D's or F's. I'm sorry, guys. It just breaks my heart. Have multiple D's or F's, and they were not D's or F students last year. So 132 of our students are really struggling academically and probably emotionally and socially, and they're not D, F kids. And so which ties into student well-being, counselors and administration are working around the clock to call home and make sure that we're making contact with those families. It's just not okay. And then student well-being, we've had 11 students that we know have checked into 5150 holds. And in long-term facilities, one of those 11 is because of a substance abuse problem. And then, sorry to leave it on a downward note. Care Solace, we've had 107 inquiries, which I think that's 107, I can't see, which have passed off. Actual appointments have been 7. So I'm curious as to, the referral has been made, the inquiry has been made. I'm curious to know like where the fall off is happening. I know that Care Solace is reaching out and they're finding a service. I really do think it's maybe the family not communicating back. But we're hoping to see that number increase. But in the inquiries that we have seen, the topics have been anxiety is the number one reason, depression and trauma. So with that, thank you. That's it. Any questions?
For Kelvin, the questions from the first phase and the second, were they the same questions?
Yes.
Thank you.
And we got a lot of comments on the first survey and not many comments on the second pulse, so.
Interesting.
So as far as, like seconds allowance, as far as the distance learning side, we had asked students and the students that are getting hospitalized. Is there anything that isn't being done that we could be doing that there could be board support for? Are there any solutions out there that come to mind that, you know, that other than getting schools back open again, or I don't know what, would you have any suggestions?
If you guys want to come in and help reach out to families, it's a lot, it's a long list. And one of the problems that we're encountering is it's a few of the families it's really difficult to reach. So Ms. Stenzel, my administrative assistant, who used to be in the attendance position, she calls it stalker calling. And so we're calling families like 5 times a day, and we're just not able to get a hold of them. And so home visits, I think that's the next step, which we haven't done, but a lot of districts are talking about it in webinars and stuff, so.
We have asked our sites and their leadership teams to look at because of the postponing of the date and little hope for secondary, but we're still hoping to look at coming up with plans in the month of December for how we're helping our most at-risk students, and then submitting those to cabinet before the winter break, not the Thanksgiving break. So they're working on that, and we're working on that together in big management, and working on looking at the cohort guidelines and what can we do starting in January to support our most need.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you, Tori.
Move on to 10.4, date update, Heather Dominguez, Director of Educational Services. Thank you.
Well, I was at a meeting somewhere and people were wearing a mask like this when they would come to speak, and first time I heard it called a chin diaper. So I'm gonna put my chin diaper on now, make you chuckle a little bit. Well, good evening, board, Superintendent Murphy, cabinet, and our audience. I'm gonna talk a little bit this evening about GATE. But before I talk about that, I have to say it was very encouraging to me to sit and listen to the presentations for, even though I've read them before this evening, but to see how things are kind of melding together. When you read my Friday update tomorrow, I did not talk to Tori prior to the information that's in the update. So to see the parallels of the things that we're working on in tandem with one another I get really excited about things like that. So as we think about, plan, do, study, act, I heard a lot of planning, doing, studying, and then acting differently as a result of what we were studying. And so I think that that's really encouraging as we think about continuous improvement and being relevant, responsive, and relational. So start off with that before we even get to GATE. All right, GATE programs in a pandemic. So I'm just going to touch this evening on the eligibility process We are continuing moving forward with assessments and identifying students for eligibility in GATE, enrichment and differentiation. First of all, just as a reminder that GATE funding is part of our LCFF. Several years ago, it was a separate categorical funding source, and that was eliminated with the institution of LCFF, and now it is all part of that budget lump. So the district funds the assessment components of the program, which you'll hear about in a moment. And then each site works with their school site council to designate program resources for the site GATE program, and that's at the elementary level. And that's allocated from their site LCFF budget. Oops, went too fast. So determining eligibility for GATE. In February of each year, we universally screen all of our third grade students. Parents receive information about the screening process, and they are able to opt students out if they choose to do so. We use what's called the NNAT3 and the Otis Lennon as the achievement test indicators. The NNAT is the one that we use as the universal screening initially. So then these achievement tests, along with other multiple measures, are used to determine GATE eligibility. Some students are eligible based solely on the outcome of that achievement test if they score high enough, like 97th percentile above. Those who score within the 89th percentile to the 96th percentile, other factors are used such as CAST scores, teacher rating scales, parent rating scales, things of that nature. Then our elementary TOSA, Claire, she facilitates the testing, and then she meets with our elementary site GATE coordinators throughout the year to coordinate the assessment and the GATE programs. The GATE programs are provided primarily at the elementary level, and then once a student gets to the secondary level in the middle school and high school, then they're able to apply for honors classes or AP classes. There is more information about GATE programs that is provided on our district website. There's an FAQ there. There are also some resources for parents, and that's under the Educational Services tab, which looks like that. So you can visit our website under Educational Services and visit the GATE tab if you would like more information. Here are some numbers in terms of GATE participation and eligibility over the last 2 years. So in 1920, we had 15 students who were eligible in grades 4 through 5, 47 in the grades 6 through 8, and 69 at the high school, 131 total in the district. This year, we have 8 identified with 2 still pending. We do require parents to consent to their participation in GATE, and sometimes it takes us a while before we can get all of those documents in. So 2 are pending right now, waiting back the parent signatures. 37 at the middle school, 66 at the high school level for 111. So we see the decline here in our GATE program, just as we are seeing our decline across the district in enrollment as a whole. As Tori referenced in her presentation, we do not have updated CASP scores since the CASP was suspended last year. And just an update you may already be aware of, but they are indicating that CASP will go forth this year in the spring. However, it will be an abbreviated assessment, same kinds of questions, but it won't be as long because they are anticipating that whether we're distant or whether we're in person, we will still conduct those assessments. But here are some results for the last round, which was in the 18-19 school year for our GATE students. The first one is for language arts. And then the next slide is for math. Oops, I think too fast again. Each of our schools at the elementary have prepared a flyer, informational flyer for all of their GATE programs. And this year it's going to look a little different than it has in the past. Opportunities for excursions and going on special field trips at the end of the year, and places like JPL, which we have visited in the past. are not going to take place this year, most likely. So we're really focusing on the teaching strategies that are occurring and differentiation within the classroom, which really is the primary meat of the GATE program. So we're utilizing and falling more heavily on the individual learning plan that we've developed. You have a copy of that in the back of your packet. So this is an opportunity for parents and families and teachers to come together to really create some individual goals and focus areas for our students, whether that be in math, in science, social emotional needs. They can set a plan and a final product that they would like to produce as a part of their GATE program. Any questions? Short and sweet this evening. I'd like to thank you for your time and attention, and I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Heather, for the update.
Okay. 10.5, technology update. Heather Dominguez, Director of Educational Services, and Mark Malone, Information Systems and Network Specialist.
He's like Malcolm behind the scenes. It's like the, Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
I don't want to be being the current anymore. Good afternoon or good evening now. I apologize, I don't have a handout for you. It's been a crazy week so far. So I get to do this update every year, and I really enjoy doing it because I think the community and sometimes school employees don't see what really goes on in technology. However, I think this year, everyone sees what's going on in technology. So I'll just start. And if you have any questions, please just interrupt me. So here's our overview of the technology department. I'm not going to get into what everybody's job does, but I do want to note that we have, because of COVID, I suppose it could be a silver lining, we have Charles Puritan, who is a security guard here at the high school, who's kind of on assignment with the technology department. So what he is doing is he's alleviated Lori's spot at MPH. So Lori only focuses on our primary schools now to help them out. And then Charles does MPH, Mountain, Rim, and MOT. So, and he's actually really awesome at his job. He takes his time, he listens to everybody. I haven't heard one negative thing about Charles. So that's been a silver lining. The next thing is our help desk. We are a small department, only 3 of us, but we are mighty. And since the beginning of this school year, we've closed 2,636 tickets, which is pretty remarkable. I'm kind of looking back at last year's, and we didn't even have half that at this time. So I think a lot of teachers are getting used to the ticketing system. They're not just emailing us. They have the routine now. They know what to do. And what's great is our response time is within 6 hours. Our typical ticket, if it's something I can do real quick, great. If it's something that I need to pass off to Lori or Charles, they get it done quickly.
Does that say average response time or resolution?
I'm sorry, resolution
So it's
time.
all solved within.
Solved within 6 hours. Yeah, I mean, of course, we're going to have some technical problems and things like that,
I'm
but
sure there's something.
the majority are just, quick things that we can solve.
Things like having to send a Chromebook into a service repair center, I'm sure is going to extend your average.
We are the service repair center, and that was my next part. With the help of some COVID funds, we pre-ordered lots of like cases and keyboards and screens and things like that for all of our Chromebooks. So when a Chromebook is broken, we can repair it pretty quickly, and it comes into us, and it usually goes out within the same week. And we do have enough Chromebooks on in inventory so that if that parent comes in, they can swap it right away. There's no downtime for the students. So total, we've repaired 92 so far this year. So most of them are just the screens. Chromebooks are cheap by design. The screens are $14. So I don't want to say that they're easily broken, but they're easily broken. So, and this is a big thing with everything going digital. YouTube is a huge thing for our teachers. We inherently block all YouTube videos unless they're approved, or not, I wouldn't say approved unless they're unblocked. So teachers submit to say, hey, I need this channel. So we've unblocked 900 channels, and that's over 160,000 educational videos that teachers have access to post on their Google Classroom.
You unlock it for one, do you unlock it for all?
So when the teacher says, for example, like Khan Academy, we just unlock the whole channel. If it's something that, I look at and I'm like, I'll just unlock that video. And then I'll wait again until someone, if it's like a repeat thing or a grade level has figured out, hey, this is a really cool channel, they'll usually email me, hey, can you unlock everything so that we can have access to all the videos? So.
Mark, can you can email on this presentation?
Absolutely. So here's a pretty awesome slide. And we talk about closing the digital divide. So what we've done in the district is we have 2,700 Chromebooks out. They have been checked out by parents, and they're in the students' hands right now. We've sent out 280 hotspots. We do have spares. So if you're having connectivity problems at home, technical issues, please feel free to come into your school and get a hotspot. We've ordered 300 iPads for all of our kindergarten students, as well as some special ed classes. All teachers received new laptops this last summer, and any new teacher, we still have a few of the brand new laptops left. So when we bring in brand new teachers, they get a brand new laptop as well. And some teachers chose to keep their old laptop. So in their Zoom, they have their new and their old, and they are good to go. Every teacher also received a webcam. So we know that every laptop has a webcam, but the webcams that we purchase are a little bit better quality. All of our teachers have taken Google Classroom training. We did the training again last PD day. Secondary did Go Guardian, which is our classroom management platform. And as of today, 60% of our secondary teachers are doing it, which is pretty awesome. All my kids, I have an 8th grader, a 10th grader, and a 12th grader, and they're like, Dad, why? Why do they keep closing my tabs? Because you're off track. Because you're off track. Dad, I was just on Instagram. No, you weren't. We blocked Instagram. You were on something else. So, and that's a pretty interesting program to use. The teachers can close any tabs. They can take over their screens. They can lock their screens, things like that. Last bullet on this slide is we migrated from an Office domain to a Google domain, and that is the primary reason we did that was for the collaboration piece in Google Classroom. Last year, from March to June, our teachers and all of our staff, actually all of our employees, were in Office, and that collaboration it was having issues. Students were thinking that they were sending it to the teacher when they would actually send it to another student, things like that, little quirks. So over the summer, we moved our whole domain over to Google, and that solved so many problems that we were having last year. So one note on that is, I think Mr. Nygren talked about plagiarism. In doing this move, it's quite interesting. When students have the ability, when they're in Google Docs, to run an originality report, and it's just Google's fancy word of a plagiarism checker, or some districts use Turnitin. It's the same thing. But what's interesting is the teacher can also run that check, and it not only checks for plagiarism through the internet, it checks for plagiarism from student to student. So if you have a student in biology with this teacher, and you have a student with biology with this teacher, it can run that check against each student's work. And it'll tell them right away if that student is plagiarizing their work. So it's pretty interesting. Here's a few little stats I pulled up at the right as I was finishing this up. To date, we've had 26,000 meetings between Zoom and Google Meet. We have 579 Google Classrooms. Now understand that secondary have multiple classrooms, things like that. So we have 579 classroom. 3,846 emails are going between students and teachers each day. So we know that they're talking to each other. We know that they're asking for help. 2,300 Google Docs are created every day. 790 Google Slides are created every day. And 100 Google Sheets are created every day. Google Sheets is like Microsoft Excel. That's pretty interesting to me. A couple updates, E-rate. We have just finalized, had our first kickoff meeting with our contractor. We're just waiting on some equipment to come in, and that should start in December or early January. That's a full network infrastructure refresh at all of our schools. Switches, routers, some cabling, and some new battery backups. This is a fun topic, is security cameras. Previously, before March, we had no security cameras except for at the high school. Now every single school has security cameras. And we just finished last Friday with our interior cameras that are in every main office and include the district office main area. Parent Square is our new mass communication platform. We changed over for a couple of reasons. The most impactful reason was a collaboration with parents, students, teachers, and admin. And I'm sure Tori can attest to this, where she can send out and people can appreciate it, people can comment on it. Teachers can send out a blast to one period, they can send out a blast to all periods. So we've had a lot of good feedback from parents about that. And one thing that I forgot to add on there was a feature that we turned on, I want to say 3 weeks ago, was if your student's absent, you'll get the usual email and the text. But now, when you get the text or the email, you just click this button and you write or you type why they were absent, you send it in, and that's it. Simple, done. It's really been, I think all of our attendance clerks are like, yes, that is the best thing, because they're not having to call and figure out. I've used it, 3 kids, okay. And what's interesting is Parent Square also gives us a dashboard so we can see how we are communicating with our parents and guardians. So 93%, we can reach 93% of our parents and guardians each time something is sent out at the district level. So that's either with a phone call, a text, or an email. Smart boards. We have a couple of smart boards left to install at MPH, but all smart boards have been installed here at the high school. So now every classroom with a teacher, I'll put it that way, has a smart board in their room. So that is a huge silver lining to this pandemic, because we had the money to purchase smart boards for every single classroom. Training starts next month. Another awesome thing that's happening is our tech coaches. Each site now has a certificated tech coach where teachers can get help with their teacher-specific learning platforms. In the past, teachers would email me and say, hey, how do I do this? I don't know because I don't ever use it. So what I would do is I would just say, ask another teacher. I would say, here's the help desk number. Here's the help, or I would try 3 or 4 days later. They're emailing me, hey, did you figure it out? Oh yeah, it's just an ongoing cycle. Now they have someone at their site that knows exactly what platforms they're using and can help them. And it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I know they've already been helping now, but our kickoff meeting is on December 3rd. We're giving them some tools to remote in to their, to another teacher's computer so they can show them real time. It's always hard to give tech instructions over the phone, or, it doesn't work well. So when you can, remote in, if they're at school or if they're at home, if the coach is at school, if the coach is at home, they can remote in and help that other teacher. And we're going to grant them some administrative access to the third-party platforms so they can help. They can go in as an admin to see exactly where they're at and what the hurdle is that they can't get over, so that they'll be able to help us out. Mobile Mind has turned into something that I'm really excited about. Mobile Mind, if you don't know, it is an online self-paced Google Center training courses. They're what they are is small, they call them micro courses. They're just a small 15-minute course about something Google. So you can go in and you want to know about Gmail, you can take 10, 15-minute, some of them are even 5 minutes. Here's how you make your signature on Google, on Gmail, things like that. And we've opened it up to certificated and classified employees. Classified is mainly our clerical and our instructional assistants. Our instructional assistants want to learn how to use Google Classroom because they're in it every day as well. They're on that Zoom or that Meet and they're in that breakout room with the teacher. They want to know how to use it as well. And one thing that a couple of teachers that have told me is if they make their instructional assistant a co-teacher, if that teacher's out with a sub, that instructional assistant can really help that sub figure out where in Google Classroom these tools are. So it's actually turned out really well. So since we opened it up on October 1st, 596 micro courses have been completed, 176 badges. A badge, you can be like a Gmail leader or a Google Slides or Google Classroom, extraordinaire, things like that. It's a lot of fun. 143 hours in training our Mobile Mind users have done so far. We have 7 of our employees are now Google Education Level 1 certified, which that is an industry certification. This is not a Mobile Mind certification. I did it. It's intense. It really is. It's a 3-hour test. You have your laptop open, your camera's on, and they're taking pictures of you, so you're not cheating. So you can't open up other tabs. You just sit there and you take the test. It's pretty intense. It's a lot of fun.
Are there any costs associated with taking those exams?
Because we pay for Mobile Mind, obviously. So Mobile Mind sends each user a voucher. If you wanted to just take the level 1 education, it's $10. Level 2 is $25. You have to wait 30 days between them. You can't just take them right off the bat. So
I will say I got an email from a teacher today just wishing me happy Thanksgiving, and she had a bunch of badges in her signature.
Mhm.
And she, so I commented back to her and said, wow, look at all those badges from Mobile Minds. And she said, yeah, I'm really excited about this. I learned how to put them in my signature. They won't fit them all. And she says, the next thing I'm gonna do is work on my Google certification, but it's really cool to see the pride the teachers have in passing those courses, and it was fun to talk to a teacher about it today.
Yeah, it's a really neat program.
Is Mobile Mind available Express to use? Our emails?
We have, we bought so many licenses, and right now we're completely out of licenses. But I'm getting people every day that's asking. So Heather and I might have a talk after Thanksgiving.
Give some information on how to, for us to get around to be able to do it. Or I can look that up.
Sure.
It's super cool.
Sure, it's a lot of fun. The courses are real simple. It's a step by step. There's videos.
But it's not a district license, it's an individual.
Right, it's an individual license.
Isn't it slightly competitive too? Like, it's like a little.
I think VOE is top right now with RHS right behind them. Mrs. Leather at VOE is the top. She has her certification 1 and certification 2. So she has, she's right on. And she's also the tech coach for VOE. So that's just another, awesome thing that's happening with the tech coaches.
So fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. Any questions?
I got one.
Yes, sir.
You've closed a lot of tickets this year, and you're closing them quickly. I'm just wondering, at any point in time, how many open tickets do you have in front of you that your team of 3 needs to be addressing?
Right. So we break up open tickets into like a hardware open ticket, like a Chromebook. So Chromebooks, since we have an inventory on site, those we only handle once a week. And I think we have like 42 of those that need to be repaired. As far as stuff that we can do real quick, I think we have 14, and total we have right around 50 open tickets. And some of them, I open up tickets to remind me to do things. And I have tickets that open up every month that I need to perform maintenance or something on, on our network somewhere.
Well, that's a lot of tickets.
Yeah.
What would be approximately the longest time right now that you have a ticket?
Our oldest ticket,
It probably one requiring a purchase.
yeah, because we also, all quotes come in through our ticketing. So we also, put that in its own category. Some of the things that probably a 30-day would be one that I open up monthly and that I just hold off until I get time to do. Or else it's a technical job that I have to bring down a network or a school to get finished. So I will hold off. There's some, there's always issues with the network, and there will never be a time when there's no tickets for a network for something. So, those type of tickets will, they'll get done. It's just, and it's not something that, a teacher is like, it's a vital thing. This is something that I do internally, or I have Lori and Charles to do.
Figure it's safe to say that you're understaffed at this point continually, just because of the nature of technology, or do you think you're doing okay?
I hate to answer that. In an ideal, I'd love to have a tech at every school.
Okay, that's what I would, yeah, it would be ideal, but that's an area of continual need.
Mhm.
Okay.
Even in Coachella with 22 sites, we did not have 22.
Yeah,
We had 7.
It's fantastic, Charles.
yeah, it's just been, Lori's passion, and she loves elementary. And I pawn a lot of tickets off to her with those elementary programs because she's been running those for so long. She knows the insides and outs. So she's awesome at that. So I pawn those tickets off, and she takes care of them as she can. So, yeah,
What you and Lori have done over the years has been phenomenal.
Yeah, and Lori's great. I mean, and Charles is great too. They've been just phenomenal this year.
It's good.
Yeah.
Mark's not gonna wanna give him back.
No. That's a silver lining, and, you know, as much as we want school to come back, if I could just keep Charles. That might be it.
So his technology capability in terms of watching and doing things here is
Yeah, yeah.
strong too, so.
Yeah.
I have two questions, but they may not necessarily be for you, so I'll throw them out, but maybe they'd be for another time, as there has been talk at times about having a district-wide calendar, especially as we migrated to Google. Is there any possibility of us having any traction with that, or is, I mean, is it?
Right now, if you go to the district website, you
I
look on.
believe it was in a Friday update. that-
Yes, as all the principals were given access to the calendar. I think LAE's is on there. I know the high school is on there. I would have to look and see what other schools have posted on there.
Yeah, we've been
I
doing
think
it for a couple
MPH
months.
Yeah, so I'll look tomorrow and see which principal has yet to do it.
Yeah, no, I would be
Yeah.
looking for holiday shows and the like, but that's
Mm.
not a, it's not gonna be happening this year. Okay. And then just another thought that came to mind when you were talking about the collaborative nature of Google and me doing a presentation at this point. We've had a number of digital presentations. Wondering about the possibility that could be potentially maybe open as having a board website where the digital presentations are posted there for us to get away from paper and having that be instead of you emailing us out the reports, possibility of us having a shared site where we can have these reports posted. Is that something maybe as a discussion we could have? That maybe I'll do that later on in the meeting as far as an agenda item.
Well, there needs to be agenda item, we'll get back to on the Friday update.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. It's just your comments sparked that as an idea.
Wheels turn, yeah.
Yeah, just reviewing the paperwork, it's good to get the reports, but it's hard to, it could be a general organization tool.
Anything else? All right,
Thank you very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. 12.0, action calendar. 12.1, personnel services, approval of the personnel page, pages 1 through 3, fiscal impact budget.
So moved.
Leslie's our first.
Second.
Oh, Leslie's our second there. Discussion.
Congratulations to all.
Let's go ahead and call for the vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries 4-0. 12.2, special services, approval to appoint Corey Smith as a student with disabilities who resides in the district to the Parent Advisory Board tab for the 2020-2021 and 2021-2022 school year, paid for fiscal impact none.
So moved.
Leslie's our first.
Second.
Leslie's our second. Discussion?
Thank you, Cory.
Thank you very much, Corey. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries 4-0. 12.3, special services, approval to appoint Deidre Dean as a parent of a student with a disability living within our district boundaries to the Parent Advisory Board tab for the 2020-21 and 2021-22 school years. Page 5, fiscal impact none.
So moved.
Natalie's our first.
I'll second.
Dan is our second. Discussion?
Thank you, Deidre.
Thank you. Vote on that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries 4-0. 13.0, consent calendar. Items for a separate vote to be taken into consideration during agenda item 14.0. Any to poll this evening?
I have none.
Leslie?
None.
Okay. With that, we will go ahead and move forward with 13.1, 13.2, 13.3, 13.4, 13.5, 13.6, 13.7, 13.8, 13.9, 13.10, 13.11, 13.12, and 13.13. Your motions?
So moved.
Let's go ahead and give that to Leslie. And second,
I'll second.
Anna. Discussion. We have
I would like to say that when we move through these quickly, it's not because we don't appreciate all of the effort that goes into making them. We've definitely spent our time reading all of the material. I appreciate the donations that were part of it, especially, and usually like to separate those as an acknowledgement that our school continues to need the support of the community members. And when they reach out to us to give donations, we do really, really appreciate it. So thank you.
We have some really cool things in there to look for, like, a virtual ambulance simulator and or a physical ambulance simulator, and, things like donations and buying some wireless access points. So do take a look. And when Natalie says we read through those, that's pages 6 through 59, just as an FYI. So, yeah, definitely a big appreciation there. And take a read through those when you have a chance. Anything else? Okay, let's call for the vote on all of those agenda items that I previously mentioned. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries 4-0. 14.0 items removed from the consent calendar. We have none, so we'll move forward to 15.0 governance team future agenda items planning. 15.1 time allotted for the Board of Trustees to request agenda items for future meetings. Do you have any? Okay. With that, we'll move on to 16.0 future meeting dates. We have a regular board meeting, December 15th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. That will be streamed via YouTube. And do come to that one. It'll be a big meeting. We'll be swearing in our new Board of Trustees, including the Mellinger. All future meetings will be held at the high school library and streamed via YouTube for the public until executive orders change regarding gatherings. With that, we'll move on to 17.0, recess to closed session if necessary. I do not believe it is.
No.
So we will move on to 18.0, adjournment. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Natalie's our first.
I'll second.
Second.
Leslie's our second on this one. Any discussion?
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, let's call for the vote on this momentous board meeting here. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries 4-0. The meeting was adjourned at 8:02 p.m. Thank you.